Welcome to the first lecture about the use of GitHub for the course of Advanced Programming Scientific Computing. As you know, the course has got a series of exercise examples and other material that is kept under Git, under a repo that is controlled by me and the other teachers of the course. Now, how can you use these repository? Well, what you have to do is to create your own copy of the repository on your computer. Now, the repository is hosted on GitHub. The simplest thing to do is to create, first of all, a account on GitHub. This is very simple. You have to fill here, pick up a username, your email address, create a password, sign up for GitHub, and fill all the remaining parts. After you have done that, you can sign in to GitHub, and here is just a username I've just created just for this example. And while you sign in, you should find an empty page like this one. Now we have to find the repository for packs. It's very simple. You go here, search GitHub, and you type packs. Okay? It gives you all of the repository that contains packs in the name, and luckily the first one is exactly what we are looking for. Packs course packs. You click on the name, and here you have the repository, the full repository. You can browse the repository, you can walk through all the directory, see what files are contained. But of course, if you want then actually to use the repository in order to compile and test all the examples that are contained, you need to clone the repository. To clone the repository is rather simple. You go here, clone or download. Of course, you can also just download the repository, but if you download the repository, you will not be able to keep up with the changes that I can make in the repository during the year. While instead, if you clone the Git repository, you are able to always be up to date with all the changes. So it is much better to clone. You type clone, and you have this address that appears here. Now you have two possibilities. You can clone the repository using HTTPS or using SSH. SSH is safer because it is, here it is, I just enlarge a little bit so you see better. SSH is safer, but it requires you to create your own private and public SSH key and load the SSH key in the profile in GitHub. So you have to go to your profile, that is here, and load the SSH key. Now, for making life simpler, here I just use HTTPS, which does not require to load anything in your profile. However, I will suggest eventually to use SSH because it is safer. Now, copy to the clipboard. You have copied the name on the clipboard, and then you go to a directory. Let's use this page, this window that is a bit bigger. Let's clean it up. And you create a directory where you want to store your repository, and then you just type git clone and the address you have just copied on your clipboard. Okay? Then you just have to wait a little bit because, of course, you need to download all the files that are in the repository. It won't take long. It's not such a gigantic repository. And now you have in packs a copy of everything. Okay? Now, one last thing. The packs repository contains submodules. Submodules is an advanced feature of Git that allows you to have under your repository directory that are in fact other repository. This can be convenient if the other repository refer to material provided by other people. This is exactly the case. I have some directory that are in fact repository connected to material, to software that is created by other groups. So when you clone your repository, you are not cloning also the submodule. Now, if you want also to clone the submodules, is very simple. You just do git submodule init to initialize the submodule in your local workspace, in your local repository, and then git submodules update. Something that you can repeat every time you want to keep your submodules updated. Sorry. Git submodule, not submodules. Good. Now you see there are other parts that are downloaded from the web. Good. It's gonna take a while. Great. Now you have the full-fledged repository for the PAX course in your local machine. If you want to keep updated with all the changes that myself and my collaborators make to the repository, you just have to do git pull. Okay? Git pull, and in this case it just tells you that everything is up to date. But if I had made changes in the repository, you will now upload the changes and have everything up to date. If you want to update the submodules, you just repeat git submodules update. So git pull, git submodules update, and you will have always a copy of the PAX repository with all the examples, all the material kept up to date. Of course, you can only read from the repository. You cannot make changes to the upstream repository. So in your local repository, you can do whatever you want. You can add things, you can do commit, you can do everything Git allows to do on a local repository. But of course, you can, if you do git push, you will be asked a password that is the password of the main of the main repository on GitHub, and that password you don't have it, so you cannot push anything on upstream. It is clear, but you can download everything. So git pull works, git push won't work. Let's finish this first video.